The House settlement is evening the playing field with the SEC and the Big Ten, and congratulations, ASU is going to whoop your ass.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your guide, Richie Bradshaw, here to give you everything you need to know, from the gridiron to the hardwood and everything in between. Today's episode of Locked On Sun Devils is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Here's what we got today to talk about. The playing field is slowly getting more even, thanks to the NCAA House settlement. I'll let you know how. How is ASU and the Big 12 Conference going to capitalize? We'll talk about that before we finish up with, is this what ASU needed to finally get over the hump? Before we get started, thanks, as always, to each and every single one of you for tuning into Locked On Sun Devils and making us your first listen of the day. The NCAA House settlement is official. This happened over the weekend, and it's a big deal. So, first of all, if you want a broader, better explanation, then you need to go check out Locked On College Football, because Spencer McLaughlin, one of my best friends in the whole world, he has been covering this for a while. He knows the ins and out of this way better than I do. I'm thinking an ESPN article that made it easier for me to understand. But Spencer McLaughlin, Locked On College Football, make that your second listen of the day, because he goes over that 10 times better than I do. But here's the thing with the NCAA settlement. The playing field is going to start evening out in theory. Let's go ahead and make that very clear. In theory, the playing field is going to be leveled out. Well, the playing field between what? The playing field between your big bad conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, and your lower, quote unquote, lower conferences like the Big 12 and the ACC, and some of your bigger programs in the group of five, like a Memphis or Tulane or a Boise State, they're going to get a little bit of a boost too. Here's how. The House settlement, first of all, is paying $2.8 billion, $2.8 billion with a B, $billion over the next 10 years in damages to athletes who competed in high school athletics since 2016. That's a big deal. And congratulations to those athletes, because you deserve it, because the NCAA made a lot of money off of you. They made a lot of money off of you and your name, image, and likeness. The NCAA played a stupid game and they won a stupid prize. They messed around and they found out, but different word than messed around. There is going to be, and this is how the playing field gets even, $20.5 million, $20.5 million in essentially a salary cap that will be provided to Division I programs. So you will have Arizona State provided $20.5 million. Not quite, but I'll explain later on in the show. But that's what's happening. The NCAA, here's 20.5 for Arizona State. Here's 20.5 for Michigan. Here's 20.5 for Wake Forest. Here's 20.5 for Washington State. Everyone's getting the same. No one's getting more than the other. This isn't baseball where the Dodgers can outpay everyone because of the luxury tax. That's not the case anymore. We're not going to see as many, in theory, as many scenarios as Bryce Underwood flipping from LSU to Michigan because he was offered $12 million. That's from boosters. We do not know how boosters are going to affect this yet. That's wait and see. NIL is still a thing. Wait and see. But this $20.5 million that teams are being given is an even playing field. Because again, no one's getting more than the other. Alabama has the same money that Purdue is getting. Georgia has the same money that Oregon State is getting. UNLV has the same money that Clemson is getting. It is an even playing field. You can do whatever you want with that money. And it's not just football. You can distribute that anywhere. Are you a basketball school? Perfect. Here's some money for your basketball program. Are you a baseball school? Bam. Here's money to retain your baseball team. Are you a softball school? Are you a women's basketball school? Are you a volleyball school? Where are you hockey? wherever you value your sports, that $20.5 million will be able to be paid towards that. And obviously you can do whatever you want with it. You want to give $1 million to a kid? Do it. You want to give 50,000 to a kid? Yep, that's all yours. It's up to your discretion what you do with that money. So this is how everything kind of culminates together for how we get an even playing field. Everyone's got equal money. That means that if Power 5 big bad program calls up a NFL or an NBA talented kid, they say, "Hey, what's going on? We want you to transfer to our big bad program because we want you to help contend for us. We feel like we're right there to contending and winning a championship, and we're also a big brand program. You want to get yourself to the next level. What's better than playing at big bad program?" And it's like, you're the kid. It's like, how can I not do it? This program's calling me and offering millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah, I'm probably going to go. You can't fault the kids. I'll talk about that in a second. You can't fault the kids. But now, lower school, after big bad school calls, and they talk to this kid. Well, lower school just got wind of that, and they say, "Hey, hold on a second. You committed to this program. You love it here. Like there was something that brought you to this university. You probably want to stay. Let's find a way to get you to stay. Let's increase the financial compensation for you because now we have that available." Boom, there you go. Suddenly, future pro player is not guaranteed to enter the transfer portal every single time. Sometimes they're going to say, "You know what? I'm the face of this program. I love this school. I love the education I'm getting. I love the environment. I love the fans. And I'm making money. And that stuff matters." There you go. Now every program has the ability to retain their own players in theory. Again, we don't know how boosters are going to get involved in this. Because if you have a Michigan situation where here's $12 million to Bryce Underwood, well, we can't do anything about that. That has nothing to do with the salary cap. That's not even really NIL. That's just boosters. It gets covered under NIL, but we'll wait and see how that gets mixed in to everything. But this is a really big deal, and it's going to allow programs to keep up and not drastically fall behind. Look at Washington State. Washington State lost Jake Dickard, their head coach, and they lost John Mateer, their quarterback. John Mateer, I don't know if you're big NFL draft fans. He's getting some love as a potential future player. Jake Dickard, one of the best coaches in college football that really loved his job at Washington State. But again, money talks, man. If you get an opportunity to take a new job with more money, you can't. It matters. I understand. And don't get me wrong. I was raised the same way as many other people that your word is only as good as what you provide for it, your commitment. You're only as good as your word. So if I give you a handshake deal, that's I can break it, sure, but there goes the respect. That matters. It certainly does. But we're in a different world than we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago. It is what it is, and it's not going away. But now, these programs like Washington State aren't, for lack of a better term, they're not screwed because they can't compete. Cal maybe is able to retain Jaden Ott because Cal can offer Jaden Ott some money. He played 3 years at Cal, but he's going to Oklahoma for his final season. And part of that could be competing. But you know as well as I do that Oklahoma has more money to offer than Cal does. Stuff matters. So in theory, and I'm just going to continue to say this now and probably for the remainder of the podcast, in theory, these programs should be able to stay in contention to hold on to their players. So you have a talented football player, you're not guaranteed to lose them anymore. In theory. And the programs that benefit the most for this are those, quote, lower tier programs. The Big 12 and the ACC, who have been spit in the face on by the Big Ten and the SEC and the G5 schools and the Mountain West, who's getting dismantled by the Pac-12. Well, now they've got a chance. And that's the way it should be. So before we head into the second segment, I do want to provide this friendly reminder because I know that there's a lot of generational disagreement with this stuff. Older generations, like my grandparents, they do not agree with these players getting paid. Younger generations, like myself, think that these players should be paid. Now, my opinion is kind of in the middle because I don't like that it's semi-pros, and I don't like that these kids are making millions of dollars based off of boosters. But I love NIL for what it should be, and that's promoting smaller businesses, creating an establishment in your community, becoming a face of your program because you're connecting with the fans and the people and the alumni and the students and the kids all over the place. Look at Cam Scadaboo. He becomes a legend in the Valley, not just because he's a good football player, but because of everything he did in the community. That's what NIL should be. So here's what I want to say. And then we're going to go ahead into the second segment, which is how does ASU and the Big 12 make the most out of this opportunity? Friendly reminder that the NCAA did this to themselves. This was never an issue before. Did you have? Yeah, programs were paying kids under the table. We know about Reggie Bush and Terrell Pryor. That was absolutely a thing. Not okay. Is what it is. But, for the time, that was not okay. And those teams got punished. Reggie Bush had his Heisman revoked. Ohio State did not get to go to a bowl game, and they finished 12-0 in the year that they weren't allowed to go. But the NCAA did this to themselves because, love it or hate it, when you are marketing these athletes who can't make any money off of their name, image, likeness, that's a big deal. And it's not because they're on TV. It's because if I go to blank team's website and I type in blank person jersey, remember, you can't have the last name of that player on a jersey while they are at the school. Wasn't allowed because they make money because of that. Well, why is it that when I go to blank school's website and I type in player jersey, it gives me a jersey of their jersey number? No, their last name's not on it, but that's so weird. Richie Bradshaw, where's number 36? I typed in Richie Bradshaw jersey. Here's jersey number 36. Well, you ruled the roost. You thought you can get away with that, and you didn't. You got caught with your pants around your ankles, and the lawyers went for your throat, and they slit that thing. And this is the result of it. So if you are going to be mad at anyone, younger generations, older generations, current athletes, former alumni, whatever. If you're going to be mad at someone, be mad at the NCAA. It's their fault that this is happening. But it is what it is, and it's here to stay. How can programs like ASU and the Big 12 Conference make the most out of this? That's coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA Finals are here. Are you placing your wagers on the Oklahoma City Thunder, or the Indiana Pacers? Well, you can do whatever you want with our friends over at FanDuel. If you're looking for highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, can't miss moments, the winning shot, the breakout player, if Tyrese Halliburton is going to change this game, there's never been a better time to get in on that action than with FanDuel because it makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live game. There's player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Again, are you looking for the big moments in this game? How many points is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going to get? Is Tyrese Halliburton going to hit another game-winning shot? You can take a look at that for yourself. You can combine those props with mid-game action. You can put the same-game parlays together. And if you're a new customer, you can turn a $5 bet into $200 in bonus bets. All you got to do is make that bet win. Now's the perfect time to sign up. Go to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. If it wins, $200 in bonus bets is all yours. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you once again for tuning in to Locked On Sun Devils and making us your first listen of the day. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. So look, this house settlement is a big deal, and it's going to help even the playing field for a lot of programs, especially the ones that are losing their players because bigger programs can pay them. So NFL talented kid gets to move on. It happens. A lot of programs have suffered from this. But it's not just necessarily that. This impacts recruiting too. And I think that's something that might be a bigger deal than the transfer portal and the impact that that is having on college athletics. Because these kids, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, they are making one of the biggest decisions they will ever make in their lives. Because it's not just about sports. You're talking about education. You're talking about potentially relocating yourself from where you've grown up to, maybe a few hours away, maybe a few thousand miles away. These are massive choices that these kids are making. And now there's money involved. So yeah, there's a lot to think about here. And by the way, it's not just for what everyone presumes. Like, this is the thing that drives me crazy is we talk about NIL and instantly everyone goes to, they don't know how to spend that money. They're just going to spend it on cars and alcohol and video games and blah, blah, blah. Well, what about the kids that needed that money to change their lives? $2 million is life-changing money. You give me $2 million, that's going to fix a lot of the financial issues that I am in. Now imagine the kids who have had nothing growing up and the kids whose families have always struggled financially. That's life-changing for them. That's not the same, but we lump all of it together. It's all the same. It's not the same, and it's really unfortunate. So this is a big deal, and it matters a lot to these kids. That was a side note. Don't lump everyone together. Not all of these kids are just going to spend it stupidly. Some of these kids need that money, which impacts where they go to college. But now these colleges can keep up. So I want to look at the Big 12 for a second. How is this going to help the Big 12? Because it's going to help everyone. G5 schools, ACC, Big 12. But there's a way that the Big 12 can really capitalize on this. ASU as well. And the biggest way that I look at it, go back to last year. It was a very competitive conference last year. Going into the final week of the season, you had 4 potential teams who were trying to get to the conference championship game. You had Arizona State and Iowa State, who ended up going, but Colorado and BYU were in the hunt as well. Kansas State was there for a little bit, and then they tailed off. This was an extremely competitive conference. In fact, I want to say that there was like 7 or 8 programs that had a path to the Big 12 championship for the vast majority of the season. And even towards the end of the season, it was like, well, if 7 things happen, then TCU could get in. That's beautiful. But, the big bad conferences look at that and they go, oh, that's gross. Those are middling schools. But then they do the same thing and they're like, well, look at the SEC. We've got South Carolina and we've got Missouri. And they're playing great football and they can contend and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, what's the difference between that and like a BYU? BYU's 4th place. South Carolina's 4th place in the SEC. Last I checked, South Carolina got spanked by Illinois, but that's none of my business. But this is something that matters for the Big 12, is to have this consistently over every year, because you are potentially staring at some big time drop-offs. Colorado is losing a Heisman Trophy winner and an NFL quarterback. They are set for a setback season. Is it guaranteed? No, of course not. But it's lining up to be a very difficult season for Colorado after a 9-win season. BYU lost some players. They lost their All-American return guy, just special teams player. We're not talking about the quarterback situation for obvious reasons, but BYU could be taking a step back this year. Iowa State just lost their top 2 receivers. That's going to be a step back. So you might see these programs regress. ASU is not a guarantee. A lot of people think they were a Cinderella team. We'll see. I'm not one of those people for obvious reasons. But that's not going to look good on the conference. People are going to be like, oh, well, SEC, we got Bama every year. We got Georgia every year. Big Ten, we got Ohio State every year. We got Penn State every year. Like, that hurts the Big 12 image that it's consistently changing over and over again. We saw that in the Pac-12. It was Oregon, and then it was Stanford, and then it was USC, and then it was Utah. But you saw those programs going up and down. You didn't see it where it was like, oh, it's Oregon in the championship every year, and then the other teams are all 10-win teams. Like, no, USC had losing seasons. You can't have that if you want to build your reputation. This $20.5 million is going to help these programs continue the stability. ASU had a lot of kids run it back this year. That doesn't happen very often. And look, sometimes it's just guys ran out of eligibility. Like the top 2 receivers from Iowa State, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, they're just out of eligibility. But they also could have potentially declared if they had eligibility. Well, that money could help them stay. And those players made Iowa State as good as they were. They were the only duo last year, wide receiver duo, that had 1,000 yards apiece in the regular season. That's not nothing. And you better believe that made Iowa State a great football team. But Iowa State may take a step back. That's not going to look good. Now, Baylor could step up, right? TCU could step up. Texas Tech is primed to make a big step up. But can they do that on an annual basis? We don't know. ASU's running it back this year, but what happens when everyone leaves? Is ASU going to regress? That doesn't look good. That doesn't look good for the Big 12 because, again, Georgia's not going anywhere. Bama's not going anywhere. Penn State's not going anywhere. Ohio State, they're all staying where they're at. That's not great. But this is going to allow these teams to help prevent suffering key, crucial losses. It helps these teams bring in key, crucial additions. If you have not kept up with Texas Tech, they dominated the transfer portal. One of, if not the best transfer portal classes in the nation. A lot of that is thanks to some major NIL that got funneled in. The NIL helps a lot, and that's going to help Texas Tech compete. But if they didn't have that and you gave them $20.5 million, they can start playing around with it and they can retain their players. Because if, Richie Bradshaw, who's going to the NFL, would you rather stay at Texas Tech or do you want to go to Florida and Florida's offering you $1 million? It's up to you, but money talks, right, wrong, or indifferent. Now, these teams have a chance to retain their players. You don't have to lose them anymore. You're not in a situation where it's like, we can't. Like, we literally cannot compete. You are one of the lower teams in the Big 12. Let's say UCF or Cincinnati, right? They don't have the money that Clemson has, that Miami has, that USC has. They don't have it. And it's not their fault. So they get the short end of the stick. I mentioned Washington State earlier. Man, if Washington State had some money, maybe they hold on to Jake Tickert and they hold on to John Mateer. And a team that won 9 games last year can win 9 games again this year. It matters. Having the consistency on an annual basis and being able to retain your own players, whether they are NFL players or they're just pretty good players or they're even just starters. You want to hold on to these guys. Now you have the ability to. Again, NIL is a factor. We don't know how big of an impact boosters are going to have moving forward. It doesn't fix everything. Remember what I said, in theory. But it gives these teams a chance to keep their guys around. It gives you a big, big chance. Let's look at the Big 12 this year. There's a lot of teams that are contending. A lot of teams. Just off the top of my head, we'll say the 4 from last year. I'll give Colorado benefit of the doubt and say that one of their quarterbacks ends up blowing up. And I'll say BYU just is able to rally. So let's go ASU, BYU, Iowa State, Colorado. Okay. Texas Tech made some huge additions. TCU is looking really good. Baylor is looking really good. Utah could be in for a bounce back year. That's half the conference by itself. And you can make arguments that other teams are going to make bounce backs. Houston could come out of nowhere if Connor Wegman steps up. Like Kansas could rebound now that they've got a healthy Jalen Daniels. I didn't even say Kansas State. Kansas State's one of the favorites to win. That's something we're going to talk about later this week. This is a conference that should have a lot of good teams, but you want to keep it on an annual basis because if the SEC and the Big Ten are going to champion the fact that they have 8 teams that go to bowl games every year, then the Big 12 is going to be able to do that too on an annual basis with some teams that can contend. ASU took Texas to the wire. We're going to talk about that in a second. Caught a lot of people off guard. Now people are going to be looking at ASU. Suddenly ASU has expectations that they didn't before. These things matter. And then the playoff committee rolls around and they're like, who do we want in the playoff? And it's like, well, we could have a 9-3 South Carolina team in, or we could have a 9-3 Iowa State team that had 3 ranked wins this year. I don't know. We might consider them. Do we want 4th place South Carolina or 3rd place Iowa State? You have more of a conversation now than you did before. This stuff matters. It helps you contend and it helps maintain the relevance of your conference. The reason the Big 12 or the reason the SEC and the Big 10 are the big bad bullies on the block is because they command the attention of the country. People are watching their games more than any other games. But if you have ASU become a staple in the country, if you have Kansas State reestablish themselves as an annual contender, now people are going to watch them again, and now the Big 12 has a bigger bite than they have previously. That stuff matters. ASU, is this what they needed to finally be the annual contenders? That's coming up next. It's the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you, as always, for tuning into Locked On Sun Devils and making us your first listen of the day. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Is this what ASU needed to finally have consistency, relevance to be in contention? So let's get this out of the way because it's going to happen. ASU is a sleeping giant. Yeah, they sure are. Yep. They are. We've never heard that one before. That's hilarious, man. Thank you. What an original thing to say. So much of it is predicated, right, off of consistent annual success, winning 9-10 wins or winning 9 to 10 games every year. It's not just 2, maybe 3 good seasons in a row and then just dropping back to mediocrity. That's something that has impacted Arizona State. There's a lot of NIL potential in the Valley for boosters, for fans to help the programs, football, basketball, baseball, whatever, get back to relevance. It's the sleeping giant, but they say it because of the potential to take that next step. It's really annoying to hear all the time. I'm right there with you. It's like I'm sick of it. Talk is cheap. So let's go. Stop telling me we're the biggest sleeper in college sports and that ASU can become a blue blood. Like, yeah, they can. So when are we going to see it? Like, I'm tired of hearing it. I know you guys are too. And we've heard sleeping giant a lot over the last few years. It's becoming more relevant. Well, maybe this is what they needed. Maybe what ASU needed was a more consistent and reliable amount of funds to be going into the program and be funneled into the program. Because now they can contend. Think of 2022. All the losses ASU had were a ton of them were NIL related. Jaden Daniels leaves, Ricky Pearsall leaves, Omar Norman Lott leaves, Omar Norman Lott left. Yes, he did. Yes, he did, because BJ Green's the one who stayed. Okay, I got it. Connor Soley transfers out of the program. Some of the defensive backs transfer out. You lost a lot, and so much. Johnny Wilson transfers out. So much of it was NIL related. They couldn't put up the money that Florida State bucked up, that Florida bucked up, that Tennessee bucked up. They got a chance now to hold on to players because they know how to recruit. Herm Edwards was recruiting 4 stars on an annual basis. Kenny Dillingham is now doing it. Well, you can keep these players now. It matters. Something I want to point out really quick, because I did not put 2 and 2 together. I saw this courtesy of Chris Cartman. ASU is going to have $2 million less from their salary cap. They're going to have $18.5 million because of the expansion of scholarships that they're offering. Remember, baseball just got like 10 more scholarships that they're offering for their program now to help boost the program. Well, that's going to impact part of that salary cap. So ASU is playing with 18 and a half instead of 20 and a half that other programs are. It is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. It really is not. But it's something noteworthy. But this gives ASU immediately a chance to come out of the gate and maintain their players. Why is ASU so good this year? Why are they being regarded as a team that can really compete? Because they retained everyone. Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson, 4 of the 5 offensive linemen are all back. The defense is returning the vast majority of its starters. The 2 deep on the depth chart is mainly back. And it's because they want to run it back. They're bought into this program. But what happens when they're offered money to go elsewhere? Sam Levitt, what's a few $100,000? Was a direct quote that he said when it was like, hey, teams reached out to you. They offered you money to transfer. Why'd you stay? He said, what's a few $100,000? That's not the logic that every kid is going to have, because not every kid is Sam Levitt, who is trending towards being a first-round pick. Some of these kids need that money. Flat out, plain and simple, man. It matters. And now ASU can hold on to them. Because not everyone has that logic of what's a few $100,000. These are kids. These are 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. That the money is more important to them than it is a lot of other people. That stuff speaks to them. It's life-changing. $2 million may not be life-changing for someone in their 50s or their 60s who retired, had a big 401k, maybe had a great paying job, stuff like that. It doesn't impact them as much as it does these kids. And that is so important to remember. But now you don't have to lose the kids. You can hold on to these kids because you can afford to do the same things that the other blue blood, big brand, Big Ten, SEC programs can. Retention. ASU just had retention this year. Everyone wants to run it back. First of all, they're going to lose a lot of these kids after this year. There's a lot of seniors on this team. They're going to lose. So they're going to be tested next year with how good that recruiting is, and they're going to have to hit up the transfer portal again. ASU's good at that, for what it's worth. But how many times can you have that? Let's say ASU's 2026 recruiting class is dynamite, and there's a lot of 4 stars in it. Okay, maybe they have a good 2026. They're not guaranteed to come back in 2027 because maybe they have a good year, and it's like, oh, well, Michigan State just called. I might have to go to Michigan State. Like, these things matter. They really do. But now you can keep them. You have that opportunity. That's a huge deal. It's a huge deal for ASU especially, who wants to prove they're not a Cinderella team, who wants to prove that they are worth more as a program than a one-year wonder. They're running it back with this team. You're going to lose a lot of this team. It just is what it is. So now the question becomes, can you do it on an annual basis? And one of the best ways that you can do it is to make sure that you have the same resources and especially the same financial resources that other programs do. We don't know what's happening with boosters. To be determined. Some programs have better NIL than others. It is what it is. But ASU now has the same amount of cap space that everyone else does. They can, in theory, we'll get that in one more time. In theory, they can contend with everyone else. And as a program that is surging right now, as a program that just made a massive statement and caught the attention of the entire nation of, whoa, did Arizona State win 11 games and just take Texas to overtime? Maybe we have to watch this program. To capitalize on that momentum, they need to make sure that they are holding on to the consistency of what's working. And right now, the consistency is based off of roster retention. Well, you're going to have to prove next year that you're more than that. And then after that, you got to prove that you can do roster retention again. That's going to be the cycle for Arizona State. Having that bit of money, it's going to hold on to the kids that are more interested in going to a big name program or having a pay raise because ASU can match. It matters. So you can love it or you can hate it. But the one thing that you should love is the fact that ASU suddenly is on a more even ground with the programs that are much bigger around the country. You want to wake up that sleeping giant? Well, here you go. Now you're on an even playing field. What do you guys think about the House settlement? Do you think that this is going to help ASU out? Do you think the Big 12 is going to benefit? Who's a G5 school that you think is going to explode because of this? Let me know in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter at Richie Bradshaw36. The podcast is there at LO_Sun Devils. Wherever you're getting your shows, hit like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications. You'll get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in to Locked On Sun Devils and making us your first listen of the day. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Like I said, please go and check out Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin understands this stuff way more than I do. He'll break that down for you. Drake Toll from Locked On College Football, everyone's favorite Big 12 host. We're going to be hanging out this week because we got to talk about this from a broader perspective. As the Big 12 expert himself, I'm going to talk to Drake 12, as some like to call him, and see how this impacts ASU and whether they can keep up in the Big 12. That's coming up this week. I'll catch you guys next time. And until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun.